Good evening. Welcome to your City Commission meeting. Please turn off all cell phones during the meeting. Ready? Tonight's meetings are televised and they are recorded. Good evening. Welcome to your City Commission meeting. Please turn off all cell phones during the meeting. Ready? Tonight's meetings are televised and they are recorded. Good evening. Welcome to your City Commission meeting. Please turn off all cell phones during the meeting. Ready? Tonight's meetings are televised and they are recorded. First item on the agenda is proclamations. Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Is Jessica Forbes here? Whereas 1 in every 4 women will experience domestic violence during her lifetime, with approximately 15.5 million children exposed to domestic violence every year. And whereas when a family member is abused, it can have long-term damaging effects on the victim that also leaves a mark on family and friends and the community at large. And whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity. And whereas victims should have help to find the compassion, comfort, and healing they need. And domestic abusers should be punished to the full extent of the law. And victims of violence should have access to medical and legal services, counseling, transitional housing, and other supportive services. Whereas we encourage domestic violence victims and their families to seek assistance from the appropriate victim services and organizations. Whereas the United States President, Congress, and other agencies have expressed a commitment to eliminating domestic violence, and we must dedicate ourselves to protect vulnerable members of our society. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Nancy Bowder, the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, do hereby proclaim October 2017 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Would you like to say a few words?
Council members, I wanted to extend a thank you for issuing the proclamation for this month. The Alliance has done several outings throughout the community to promote awareness throughout this month, and so if you happen to see our ribbons about or buttons or anything related to that, please feel free to partake in those and to share on our Facebook page. We're excited to see that throughout the community, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Jessica. Jacob Thomas, Food Day. Hi, come up here. Whereas Food Day, October 24, 2017, connects us to real food, which is local, healthy, and sustainable, and challenges members of our community to eat real, whether it is one ingredient, one meal, all day, or every day. And whereas Food Day educates and inspires the greater Kansas City community to create a stronger, healthier, more accessible, more sustainable food system. And whereas the health and well-being of our citizens is a primary concern for the City of Leavenworth, reducing obesity and diet-related diseases by promoting safe and healthy diets is a critical factor in improving citizens' overall health. And whereas supporting sustainable family farms and local agriculture benefits the local economy. And whereas the Leavenworth Farmers Market has adopted the Double Up program to provide for healthful eating for members of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program by matching their purchases of fresh produce up to $25. And whereas protecting the health of environment and farm animals is necessary to sustain future generations. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Bowder, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, do proclaim October 24, 2017 as Food Day. Would you like to say a few words? I would.
Council members, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the Leavenworth Farmers Market, and I'd like to extend a special thank you to the Parks Department for helping keep the square so nice and clean, and then also our police department for keeping us safe and occasionally coming down and talking to the kids and passing out the little badges. They seem to enjoy that. Just I'd like to share that in August, the farmers market vendors donated a little over 1,700 pounds of food to Catholic Charities. which helps serve 1,159 individuals and 480 families in our community. I know that number is pretty close to what we did in July and about the same as what we've done in September. And we really appreciate the city's support. And I'm glad to say, I know I see most of you at some point throughout the month, and so hope to continue seeing you guys.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Farmers Market does a great job. It's a great asset for our community. Lights on after school. Is Amber Wiggins here? Hi, Amber. Whereas the citizens of Leavenworth stand firmly committed to quality after-school programs and opportunities because they provide safe, challenging, and engaging learning experiences to help children develop social, emotional, physical, and academic skills. They support families by ensuring their children are safe and productive after school, build stronger communities by involving students, parents, business leaders, and adult volunteers in the lives of young people, thereby promoting positive relationships among youth, family, and adults, and engage families, schools, and community partners in advancing the welfare of our children. Whereas the Horizon Kids before and after school programs through the Leavenworth Public Schools Education Foundation has provided significant leadership in the area of community involvement in the education and well-being of our youth, grounded in the principle that quality after-school programs are key to helping our children become successful adults. Whereas the Lights On After School, a national celebration of after-school programs held this year on October 26, 2017, promotes the importance of quality after-school programs. Whereas the City of Leavenworth is committed to investing in the health and safety of all young people by providing expanded learning opportunities that will help close the achievement gap and prepare young people to compete in the global economy. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Bowder, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, do hereby proclaim October 26, 2017 as Lights On After School. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you. My name is Amber Wiggins, and I work as a lead instructor for the Horizon Kids Before and After School program at Anthony Elementary. The Horizon Kids Before and After School programs are operated under the Leavenworth Public Education Foundation. We have 4 programs which are located at the 4 Leavenworth Elementary schools: Henry, David Brewer, Anthony, and Earl Lawson. The programs are designed to help the working parent. Our programs locate in locations make it convenient for parents to drop off their child at school and have a safe, fun, and educational place for their child to be during out-of-school time. The Horizon Kids program has been celebrating Lights On After School for the past 11 years. This year, the program will be celebrating on Friday, October 20th, with our students participating in a wellness walk, a Halloween craft, and a Chef's Club recipe. Thank you for supporting and recognizing the importance of after-school programs in the Leavenworth area.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is old business. Consideration of the previous meeting minutes. I think you have something, Carla?
Yeah,
we have
there's
a
one
motion.
item on page 2 under the consideration of the sale of the city-owned property. There's a misplaced decimal there. It currently is listed that it's .055 acres. It should say 0.55, so I'll correct that before this goes into the official record if you don't have any other corrections.
Does anybody have any other corrections to the minutes? If not, could we have a motion, please?
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept the minutes from September 26, 2017 as presented with one correction in the city clerk's mentioned.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting. Commissioner Weekly?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Next item on the agenda. Second consideration ordinance 8059 wastewater rate increase.
Madam Mayor and Commission, as discussed in the budget session this year and passed on first consideration September 26th of this year, this is the second reading for the 3% increase in wastewater rates. That would is for up for your consideration tonight, and we're here for any questions you may have.
Are there any questions or concerns on this? If not, this calls for a roll call vote. Please begin voting. Commissioner Rainey?
Aye.
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 Okay, next item on the agenda, second consideration ordinance 8060 refuse rate increase.
Madam Mayor and Commission also discussed at the budget sessions this year and also approved at the September 26th under first consideration is an ordinance on second consideration tonight to increase the refuse rates 49 cents from $16.38 to $16.87 per month. If there are any questions, we have our Public Works Director here for that.
Okay. Are there any questions? We have discussed this before.
No.
If not, this takes a roll call vote. Please begin voting. Commissioner Weekly?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Pass. Next item on the agenda, citizen participation. Where'd all our citizens go?
Yeah. I know, looked up and they were gone. It was,
Yeah, I was looking to see what that princess was doing back there. Anyway, is there anyone who cares to speak to the commission on any items that are not on the agenda? If not, we'll move on. Next item, general items. Consider a request from Leavenworth County to waive the permit fees on Justice Center renovation.
Madam Mayor and Commission, the city was approached or requested by Leavenworth County to waive building permit fees for a renovation of a visitation space in the Justice Center. The information is in your policy report, but essentially converts an area into 2 attorney-client rooms and visitation area. Staff has reviewed this and believe that the building permit fee would approximately be about $1,000 with the electrical and mechanical fees about $100. It is up to the commission to waive these fees. Staff would recommend that we waive these fees. We traditionally do these for these types of entities, but it does take a commission action. We've included sort of a summary of past fees that we've waived for your review, but staff does recommend the waiver of the fees.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Kramer on this? If not, do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the request from Leavenworth County to waive the permit fees for the Justice Center renovations.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting. Commissioner Rainey?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Before we move on, I'd like to go back to citizen participation. Are there any citizens here who would like to speak? Okay, just double checking. All right, next item on the agenda, consider West Glen plat, final plat.
Julie Hurley, you handle this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. This is a request for the final plat of the West Glen first plat. This is a request for a 49-lot single-family subdivision. It's zoned R16, high-density single-family residential district. The Planning Commission did review this at their September 11th, 2017 meeting and recommended approval. The property is 18.35 acres in size. And again, it has 49 lots. Lots 1 through 26 at the northern end of the plat along New Lawrence Road will be, they're intended to be standard single-family residential homes. And lots 27 through 49 at the southern end of the plat are intended to be smaller maintenance-provided single-family homes. Also included in this is associated right-of-way and easements, which is why it is before the City Commission to accept those as public property. If you have any questions, I can answer those for you right now.
Okay.
And the developer could not be here tonight. He did pass along that the sewer plans have been submitted to the state for approval, and as soon as they're approved, they'll begin installation immediately on those sewer plans with plans to start foundations right after the start of the year, weather permitting.
Okay.
You ready for a motion?
Well, yeah, as long as there aren't any other issues regarding this, I'm ready for a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move that we consider the approval of the West Glen first plat, final plat. That's a little awkward there. Sorry.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting. Commissioner Rainey?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Next item on the agenda, consider City Festival Advisory Board. Okay. As soon as I can find it. Oh, there it is, okay.
Madam Mayor and Commission, this is just the, as discussed by the Commission, to explore the idea of a city festival. Nothing tied to that as far as any details at all, but I think there was the general consensus that we would form a temporary board, so that we'd be looking for one motion tonight to form this temporary advisory committee as laid out here, and allow them to start exploring this option and then bringing some ideas back to the City Commission.
Okay.
And it would be one motion to set up the board and then also approve the members as nominated by the mayor.
All in one motion?
All in one motion.
Okay. I move that we set up the City Festival Advisory Committee, which will include 8 members, 2 of which will be city employees. The remaining 6 members will be appropriate community members as nominated by the mayor. I will serve as an ex officio member of the committee. I would like to nominate city staff Taylor Tedder, Assistant City Manager, Christy Lee, the CBB Director, community members being Ellen Jones, former festival organizer, Jennifer Brenneman, downtown business owner, Nancy Martin, former organizer, Bill Cromer, Farmers Market, Brandon Johannes, Chamber of Commerce, Holly Pittman, Leavenworth Main Street.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting with Commissioner Weekly.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. So we will be setting up our first meeting in the next month or so. Next item on the agenda is public hearing for unsafe and dangerous structures.
Julie Hurley?
Need a motion to open the public hearing? So moved.
Sorry. It's been moved and seconded to open the public hearing. Please begin voting with Commissioner Rainey.
Aye.
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 Motion carried.
Okay, this is, again, the public hearing for the unsafe and dangerous structures. The commission has seen these structures before. Staff has gone through the process of notifying property owners, and so tonight we're here to hear from any property owners that might be here before proceeding with our process.
Okay.
So just to review, structures that are assessed to be in an unsafe and dangerous physical condition do pose a threat to the public safety, health, and welfare of the city of Leavenworth. So bearing that in mind, staff has compiled a list of 10 structures that have been evaluated based on criteria established by Kansas statute and are found to be a blighting influence on the city and neighborhood. So we'll go through these. The city clerk and I have kind of talked about what the process might be the easiest. We've got 10 structures on the list. I'll go through each one individually. And as we're going through these, we thought it would probably be easiest for the commission to discuss them as we're going through, have any property owners or other interested parties come up at that time instead of kind of going through the list and coming back. So if that works for the commissioners, we'll proceed that way.
Sounds good.
When we're evaluating these, there may be some that property owners would want to have some more time to work on them. Should the commission agree to give any property owners an extension or some more time to work on them, as we did with the last round of demolitions last year, staff would suggest 90 days for any of them, so we can kind of keep them bunched up instead of varying the time frames for anybody. So looking at the calendar, the first city commission meeting after that 90-day mark would be January 23rd of 2018. So should we want to give extensions to anybody, their extension would be to January 23rd of next year. So the first property on our list is 1015 North 14th Street. This is a garage only, and we've got some pictures up here. Staff has gone through and put together remediation agreements for each of these, which are just lists of repairs that would be needed to bring it into code compliance. Those are included in your packets, and property owners were reached out to and given the chance to contact us and discuss these if they so chose. On this one, there has been no change and no contact from the property owner.
Any questions on this property?
No, it needs obviously then to remain on the list.
Do you want to
Yeah.
see if the property owner's here, would like to speak on the behalf?
Yes, is the property owner here this evening? Okay.
Okay. Next one we've got is 1214 Potawatomi. This is a single-family structure here, and on this one, again, there's been no change and no contact from the owner.
Well, the owner of this property is deceased.
And so that's probably why we've had no contact, but yes,
Could be.
no change on this one.
Okay.
Any comments on this
No,
house?
that it just needs to then remain.
Yes, I agree. Okay, let's
Okay.
move on to the next one.
Next one is 116 Ottawa. This is another single-family home. There's been no change and no contact from the property owner.
Is the property owner here, this property? No.
And this one, the city is currently maintaining the lawn as well.
Okay. Let's move on.
Okay. Next one is 119 to 121 Kickapoo. This is a multifamily structure. There's been no change and no contact from the property owner. And I will just note for the record that on all of these properties, there's no water service currently. That's
Okay.
generally what we use to kind of verify that they're not inhabited.
Okay.
Do you know where Swift Holdings is? Did I miss
I do not.
So
this? That's a shame, because at one time that was a nice house.
Mhm.
Any
It
other?
isn't now, though.
No, it's definitely not, definitely not. Okay.
I hope when it was built, it was nice.
It wasn't that long ago that it was, anyway, let's move on. I don't see any reason to remove this from the list.
Next one is 913 Pawnee. This is a detached garage only. There's been no change and no contact from the property owner.
You know, the way it's leaning, I'm surprised it's still standing.
Yeah, it really looks like a safety hazard if
Yeah.
somebody tried to go in there. Any other questions on this property? Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised it's River City Rentals too, and they just let it go to this, yeah. But
Well, that's not this one, that's the next
That's
one.
the next one.
that's the next one, sorry.
Yeah.
I am getting ahead of it, never mind. Sorry, I apologize to
I
that
was gonna say, I
part.
don't think they could rent that out. but-
Yeah, I know, it's,
Okay.
Next one is 715 717 6th Avenue. This was a detached garage only. This one was actually voluntarily demolished by the owner, River City Rentals. And here's the picture of it as it is. They did leave the foundation. Staff went out and looked at it. The foundation does appear to be structurally sound. And so while that's something that if the city were taking it down, we would remove the foundation, but this isn't something that we would consider blight. And staff is okay with this remaining. In the future, they may want to rebuild a garage there, or a future property owner might. And so staff is okay with that remaining and would suggest that this one come off the list.
Right, okay, I was gonna say, I don't see any reason for it to be on the
Yeah.
list, so
okay.
I might look at removing that. Okay, next item.
Okay, next one is 800 Miami. This is a single-family, two-story home. It's currently owned by, we've got a person listed on here. It's sort of in the hands of a bank. It's been changing hands a bit since we've kind of started the process, and so we've been trying to keep up on that. The bank had made contact with our code enforcement officers and had requested a copy of the remediation agreement. That was on September 25th, but we've had no contact since, and there's been no change and no work done on the property.
Well, I don't see any reason to take it off then.
No, it's, yeah,
Yeah, if somebody wanted to put some money in it, they could save it.
yeah.
Yeah, I
All
mean,
these,
it's,
But money,
I want to put money in, it's a,
yeah, it would, I think it would take a lot, but at one time it must have been a beautiful home. Okay, next item.
Okay, our next one
Next house,
is 1609 Lawrence Avenue. This was a fire damaged structure. This one was also voluntarily demolished by the owner prior to tonight's meeting. They took the house down there. That's how it currently is. There's a slab there remaining still that you can see. There is a detached garage still on the property that was not damaged by the fire, and that is remaining on the property. Staff would recommend that this one come off the list as well, since the damaged structure has been removed.
Okay. No reason to be on there. Okay, the next item.
Next one is 1921 Fifth Avenue. This is a single-family home. The owner has contacted staff and indicated an intent to repair the property. No permits have been pulled and no work has begun. This property owner actually did come in and spoke with staff on Friday after the packets were sent out.
Okay.
They did sign the remediation agreement. However, they stated that they would need 8 to 10 months to complete repairs.
Is the owner here?
We were told that they would not be here.
Okay.
So again, they had asked for 8 to 10 months. We told them that typically it's 90 days is what the commission is given. So they were informed of that, but that's the communication that they gave to us.
Okay. What do you think?
did they sign the remediation agreement?
They did sign the remediation
They did,
agreement.
okay.
Yes.
And how long has Mr. New owned the house, do you know?
I'm not sure.
'Cause they haven't had water service for over 6 years.
Right.
They haven't paid their taxes.
Right.
If we would leave this on the demo list, how long before the bulldozers would actually roll?
We would anticipate it being by the end of the year. There is a bit of a process that we have to go through with environmental reviews and lead testing and that type of thing. So it does take six weeks or so for us to get through the process that we need to go through, but I would say by the end of the year, definitely. it would
Is this
become
person a new owner, or has he owned it all along?
I believe this is the person who's owned it since we started this process.
Okay, got it.
I would, it's up to the commission, but I'd be in favor of giving the owner 30 days, not 90 days. They had a chance to sign the remediation agreement. This process has been going on already for nearly 90 days. If we give them a full 90 days, January 23rd, we'd be back here, and it's going to be April before the thing is taken down, if in fact they don't do anything. If we give them 30 days to come up, sign a remediation agreement, put a plan in place, and maybe get some things started, I would feel okay about extending it. But at this point, I am not in favor of granting 90 days. They haven't even taken the first step, and this has been a problem for a long time. This isn't something that just popped up this week.
And honestly,
What did the rest of you think?
I drive by this every day. It's on my street every day. None of us are immune to this, and I would be agreeable to that, because this is, if someone takes some diligent effort, it could be saved, and that's the most frustrating part of it.
Well, if he hasn't even showed us a plan yet, and I agree with
Yeah.
Commissioner Preisinger about
But
this. that
30
we need
days,
to-
yeah, 30 days, if this is gonna kick
Do
them
it.
into gear rather than having a vacant lot sit there. Yeah, I'd be willing to do that, but I need some aggressive movement on this.
Julie, you said you had a remediation agreement on that.
Yes, that they signed.
Was there any given time in that agreement?
When we have them sign the remediation agreement, that's typically them agreeing to the work to start prior to a public hearing. Since he didn't come in until Friday, we didn't really give him a deadline with it. It was more just him acknowledging that these were the repairs that would be needed, and him agreeing to complete them. So again, with the last round, we'd suggested 90 days. If commission's more comfortable with 30 days, we can contact the owner and, see if we can work with them.
Commissioner Preisinger, what type of work would have to be done on here in 30 days for you to?
Well, they have a remediation agreement, which is what we prepared, so this is what needs to be fixed, and sign and say, yeah, I know that. But I expect in 30 days they come in with a plan, maybe a building plan, maybe a building permit pulled. Is there been a building permit pulled?
There's been no permits pulled.
Things like, some proactive measures on this property owner's part, which there has not been besides signing a piece of paper that we gave them.
Right.
So I had asked them to put some skin in the game here and give them 30 days to put some skin in the game. If they're going to make an honest effort, I want this property saved, I want it fixed, but if it's not, I want it gone.
I'll support your 30 days.
Okay.
So on these, when they sign these remediation agreements, there's a column there that says deadline. They don't fill in the deadline? Or you don't fill in the deadline?
That's typically meant to be, our intent is to have them come in prior to the day before the public hearing and have them sign it well in advance and get to working on it.
Oh, right. The deadline would
It
be
really
our
should
hearing.
have been signed or had a date assigned to it by the staff that worked with them when they came in. It wasn't when this person came in, but again, they were told that, the 8 to 10 months is probably not going to be something that the commission would be agreeable to, but they were willing to make some repairs, and, we said that we would see what the commission would be comfortable with.
Okay, so then with that, since you're verbally telling them 90 days, are they under that impression that typically the commission does 90 days, but we're moving that now back to 30 because we'd like to see some diligent effort on that?
Well, it's 'cause it's
How
already been
would
on
you,
here.
how are we going to communicate that to them?
We've got contact information for them, and
Okay.
we can make contact with them tomorrow and let them know whatever the commission is
Okay.
agreeable to.
Okay, because I would, like to see permits and, what the estimate's going to be to remove the vegetation, do the roof, and a diligent effort, that there's resources and they have desire to do this.
What are your thoughts, Charles?
I'd be in favor of the 30 days, providing there's some activity being done and showing some effort. Going by the repairs in the house and what's listed here, it doesn't seem like it should take that much to really get this house back in order. So again, if it's going to be saved, I'd like to see it saved as well. So I'd be on board with the other commissioners granting 30 days.
Yeah, and with the vegetation around it, I mean, and you can't see really all of the blemishes here, but with the roof and that, there's a lot of like mildew-looking water damage type of things on it.
Okay. All right, can we move on then?
So 30 days for that one.
Correct.
And just so we can clearly communicate to them, if they get some estimates from contractors or for materials or cost, whatever that be.
Get a building permit.
And get a building permit, that would be acceptable to the commission to be shown as sufficient progress
I would
in
add
30 days.
that they have accessibility to the funds
Okay.
to do it rather than just make the promise.
Building permits important to me too.
Okay. Okay, we'll communicate that to them tomorrow.
Thank you.
So we'll revisit this one, the first regular meeting in
Yep.
November.
Yes.
Okay, next,
That's
Okay.
actually probably 28 days, well, whatever it is.
Yep, we'll look at the calendar, we'll get it, first regular meeting after 30 days.
okay. So
Okay.
next property.
And our fourth one is 2608 South 4th Street. This is again a single-family house. And on this one, the owner has indicated the intent to repair the structure. No permits have been pulled, no work has begun. And staff's also been contacted by another party who is interested in purchasing the property.
Okay, yes, sir, please give your name and address, please.
Roger Eagle. My address is 12512 Bluegrass Lane. I'm here to represent the 2608 South 4th Street house.
Okay.
I talked to Wendy Millen that owns it, and she's having financial difficulty. The bank actually owns it, Country Club Bank. They got a pretty good mortgage on it, so I've made her an offer on the house, and she's accepted it. And I've talked to Charlie Hill at the bank, and we're moving forward with that. I got a few estimates to repair the roof, guttering, painting, and things that need to bring it back into shape. I got a game plan of about I think from today, 120 days with waiting for the bank to sign, and we'd be ready to move forward.
So you've got a contract on the house and you're waiting for your mortgage?
We're working towards the contract. It just went to loan last Friday. Banks were closed yesterday, so I'm assuming to hear something back tomorrow.
So if you think in 120 days you have this thing livable and looking great?
Yes.
So if we give you 90 days, and in 90 days it'll be, the lion's share will be done. I mean, we'll see a lot of movement.
You will see. I just won't be able to pull any permits in my name until I have something from the bank stating that, you know, it's mine. So it is a divorce house, 2 different people, separate areas. We're trying to get them together at the same time, and it's a little difficult. But yeah, I do think 120 days we should be.
When do you think it will close?
I'm hoping in the next couple weeks, a month. So.
Okay.
Yeah, traditionally it's 30 days.
And if the bank denies your loan or for whatever reason it falls through, what are your plans? Go back to wherever. What's the name of that road you live on?
Her name's Wendy. If for some reason it fell through, then I'm backing out. But,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely, yeah.
Well,
I don't see that happening. I see us moving forward.
okay. What I think is a good plan, Mr. Eagle, is that if we give you 90 days, that'll be sufficient time to get this thing going. And if there's some other issues that you're going to take ownership,
Yeah.
or that you have ownership, we'd probably extend that. We'd like to see some movement within 90 days.
Not a problem.
So I would ask you that you here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, deals off. You know, the bank says can't do it, and you're saying, I'm going back to Bluegrass Lane, which
Right.
please let us know. So
Not a
we can-
problem.
So we can take care of this product.
I have a question. This is on 4th Street. Would this be a commercial property? Could it be a commercial property, or?
Some of the stuff around it is zoned commercial, but typically I wouldn't want it for that.
Okay.
The frontage is
You want it
very
for-
small, it's old frontage. I think
It's
a
zoned
40.
commercial, but since
That's
it
what I wondered.
is currently used as a single-family
Yeah.
residence, it can remain as a single-family
Yeah.
residence.
Got it.
I
Okay,
think it's
yeah,
only
that's what I was curious
48-foot
about.
frontage and, you know,
Yeah,
obviously.
Oh,
you would need to
have a
compile
commercial.
multiple
Okay.
lots
There's
to,
about 3 or 4 houses in there. if somebody
You'd have to
wanted
get them all
take
together.
them all.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm not opposed to buying the block.
Yeah, might as
You buying the
well.
block, you said?
I'd like to. I'm working on it.
That would be really great.
Can, work on that one then.
Okay.
So 90 days?
Yeah.
Well, yes, we'll work with
yeah,
you on that.
It'll allow us to keep
Yeah.
the progress,
Yep.
to monitor the progress.
Yes.
And work hard with the bank too, and let us, if it falls through, just.
As soon as I know something, I will.
Let Ms. Hurley know.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Eagle.
All right, thank you.
sir.
Thank you.
That would be good to have somebody buy that and take care of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
So that.
anything else on that?
That is our final property. So based off of that, staff would recommend again that the 715 to 717 6th Avenue and 1609 Lawrence Avenue be removed from the list, as those have already been demolished. 1921 5th Avenue will be given 30 days, and we'll get a status update on that to you in 30 days. And then 2608 South 4th Street will be given 90 days, and we'll come back and update you on that in 90 days.
Okay. Okay, so with that, we need to, is there anything else before we close the public hearing?
Anybody else from the public?
Anybody else in the public need to speak on these houses? Okay, if not, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and please begin voting. Commissioner Weekly.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. All right, now consider Resolution B 2179.
Madam Mayor, I move that we consider approval of Resolution B 2179 to demolish or repair the dangerous structures with the suggestions suggested by staff per property.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting. Commissioner Rainey.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Okay, next item on the agenda, resolutions. Resolution B 2178, Leavenworth Main Street, Alive After 5 alcoholic beverage. Carl?
Yes, Madam Mayor and Commissioners, this is a resolution to consider the authorization to serve complimentary alcoholic liquor and malt beverages to members of the general public at the Live After 5 events that's held by Main Street. The commission has approved this the last 2 years, so this would be the third year in a row. Okay. So this is just an extension so that they can continue to do this, and this would be for January 1st through December 31st of 2018.
Okay.
I know Wendy Scheit is here from Main Street if you have any questions for her. Otherwise, this would just be a motion by the commission.
We can do a blanket approval for 12 separate events. We don't have to consider each one.
Correct, yeah, it's just one
For the-
resolution for the entire
for the year.
year.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, is there any other questions, or if not, is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution B 2178, Leavenworth Main Street Live After 5 alcohol beverage.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting. Commissioner Weekly.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. All right, bids, contracts, and agreements. Number 10, consider contract with Black and Beach for wastewater rate study.
Mike McDonald, our Public Works Director, will handle this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. This is a request to approve the a contract for rate study for sewer rates with Black and Beach. This is to update and actually review from the ground up and update our current billing rate structure that we have with Waterworks. Typically, these studies are done in 5 to 10 year time frames. Our study, the last time we studied this in any detail was about 20 years ago, and we believe that it is important that we have a good solid review of this, primarily to ensure that the costs are allocated properly across the various users, the large users and the smaller users, as well as to assist the city in considering funding related to inflow and infiltration, which we've talked about possibly needing additional funds in the future. Amanda White with Black and Beach is here this evening if you have any questions of her firm or experience. And in the broad sense of how long does this take to get done, this is expected to be brought back to the commission for approval in late January or mid-February of next year.
Okay.
This will increase, this doesn't change the rates. This gives us the data that when we're in the budget session next year and we start talking about what do we do with wastewater rates, the information gathered in this is going to help inform our decision more precisely than we have been.
Great. Good. Sounds good. Any other questions in this?
Mr. McDonald, you say someone from Black Beach is here?
Yes, sir.
Good. Tell us a little bit about what all you're going to accomplish if we approve this.
Sure.
Your name again, please?
It's Anna White. So what we do when we do a rate study like this is we typically look at three different phases of the study. One is just looking at the revenue requirements. So this is where we're going to develop a 5-year financial plan for the wastewater utility. So this will tell us how much revenue the utility should be generating versus how much revenue it currently is generating. So this will tell us what the gap is between those two numbers. The next step then is where we allocate the cost to the customer classes, and then the third step is designing a rate structure so that we recover the amount of revenue that's indicated needs to be received equitably from each of your customer classes. And so that's where the cost of service component comes into the rate study. So at the end of this study, we'll have a 5-year financial plan that will give the city a good look at what the next 5 years look like in terms of revenue increases needed for the wastewater utility, plus a proposed rate schedule that will recover the cost equitably from each of the customer classes.
So you're from the Black and Beach Finance Division more than the Engineering Division?
Right, it's called the Management Consulting Division, yes.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. If not, do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the contract with Black and Beach in the amount of $51,520.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting. Commissioner Rainey.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Next item, consider bids for stormwater repair at 4513 Park 10 Court.
Madam Mayor and Commissioner, I'm going to start briefly on this, then turn it over to our Public Works staff. This project is representative of a lot of the issues we're facing when we talk about our stormwater utility fee that we've been discussing. This is a 60-inch corrugated metal pipe that's part of the city's stormwater system that runs from a manhole through a backyard to another area that collects stormwater. As with a lot of the corrugated metal pipe around the city that's been in the ground for some 30 years, the bottom has rusted out. What happens is then the water then gets into the soil and creates sinkhole conditions, and a lot of times people aren't aware that these conditions exist in their backyards. It's a safety hazard, and it's detrimental to our public stormwater system. One thing I wanted to point out is the price on this one, and we'll get to in a minute, is very reasonable. That's because the conditions in this area are very reasonable. It's a wide open backyard with no trees, no structures. It's an easy project to get to. If you'll show the second section, if you go south the next 170 feet, you get into trees, different property owners, land acquisition, or, it's in the utilities, but fences, and it probably doubles or triples the cost of it. And this is in a relatively not nearly as dense area as some of the other parts of the city. So when we start talking about the ability to fix and address these are the kind of stormwater projects that pop up as they appear as sinkholes in people's backyards. So this specific project I'll let Mike get into.
Thank you. It is a very straightforward project in this case. We thought it might be interesting to show what this looked like before the subdivision was constructed. This is Park 10 subdivision, Muncie Road. It's east-west at the top, and we've drawn in blue where the storm sewer is. And you can see typically they follow the creek. The dark lines are the trees and such. It's got a classic civil engineering 101. And this is why you have problems at the low ends of everything, because it fulfills the functions of the creek. We did request proposals from 3 of our local contractors, looked at a variety of pipe types. There was some interest in some of the newer metal pipe, but since we haven't done a large-size plastic pipe project, we thought this would be a good opportunity to put in what is called HDPE, high-density polyethylene pipe, and see if we think this is part of the solution. And that's our recommendation this afternoon, or this evening.
Okay,
And
so
Mike Cooper put all this together.
we won't have any resting going on, but you think it'll be sturdy enough to hold up for a long time then?
Industry standards do show that it should last 50, 75 years.
Great, because I don't want to put this on commission 20 years down the road.
Yeah, we don't either.
Okay.
Mr. Hoover, do we have easements there, or do we have to get property owners' permission?
There's easements there through the platting process. There's actually a sewer line that runs parallel to this, as well as phone lines and some other stuff. So it's all in utilities.
Some of the property owners will have their fences removed. I suspect, from the pictures, I think, and knowing that area, I think there's some fences that you may have to burrow under.
Yeah, we're actually only doing the section from this curb inlet here to that area inlet there.
One fence.
One fence will have to be removed.
Just a section of it.
Yeah, the property owners agreed to remove his playhouse and everything there because he didn't have any use for it anymore. So that is the only actual improvement that's going to have to be removed on the property.
Is there a right angle from that cul-de-sac back to there that has to be repaired too?
This will not be repaired at this time.
Okay.
I would not say that this is the only pipe out there that has problems, but this one has manifested itself with some substantial holes in the property owner's backyard, and a complete failure impacts the sanitary sewer line that runs close by, as well as other underground utilities that are in the vicinity if it were to collapse during a pipe heavy rainfall we have.
Yeah. The rest of the pipe on south of this location is in the same condition as this. We just haven't seen any failures in it yet like we have in this property.
So you've had several sinkholes along there?
In this property, we've only got the one sinkhole, but the entire length of the line on that property has settled about 3 feet on top of it. We did get a call from the property owner to alert us to the problem.
So it's probably, it's the same material too, the pipe is?
It's all the same.
So it's probably a
it's all the same
pending failure out
Yes.
there, okay.
If we approve this, when would it get completed?
They should be able to start within 30 days.
Probably a 30-day at the most project.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Any more questions? Good with this. Do I have a motion then?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the bid for the stormwater repair for 4513 Park 10 Court with Line Weaver Construction, not to exceed $35,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting. Commissioner Rainey?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Okay, item 12, consider MOU Phase 2 with Kansas Gas, 3 Mile Creek Bank Stabilization.
Madam Mayor and Commission, Public Works Director is going to handle this. I've asked him to provide a little bit of context to this problem. It's sort of an interesting issue that we've run into in a creative solution and an advantageous situation for the city. So Mike, if you want to provide a little detail.
Okay. This is the actual request of this is for the second part of an MOU with One Gas, who's the owner of the property that we built the parking lot on, down on 3 Mile Creek on the north side between Esplanade and 2nd Street. And I wanted to kind of address the MOU with One Gas, as City Manager mentioned, is I think a favorable, it's a fair solution. It's favorable to the city. End of this will result in the trail being stabilized and addressing some dramatically changing conditions on 3 Mile Creek. The ownership is interesting. It's a complicated series of events that leads to a giant Oklahoma utility holding company owning a little piece of Leavenworth. It is originally was the site of a coal gasification plant where they took the coal that was mined under Leavenworth, treated it to create gas, which was then distributed throughout the city. The ownership of that has been kicked around and eventually landed with ultimately with One Gas, the big mega company from Oklahoma, and Kansas Gas is one of their subsidiaries, and the local office of Kansas Gas gets the day-to-day management of this property that is owned by One Gas. The property was subject to a KDHE/EPA Superfund cleanup in the early 90s, and the city obtained rights to use the surface of it for a park and later as a parking lot as far back as the Leavenworth Landing Park project. So I put together kind of a basic timeline as to how we end up here. The 99-year lease we received was back in 95, and we've done a lot of work in this part of town, and it's a pretty impressive list of things that have happened. But the biggest one was the trail was constructed in 2008, which changed the flow characteristics of 3 Mile Creek somewhat as the creek was widened, improving floodplains throughout the area. That was probably the first, after the Leavenworth Landing project, then we did the trail, now we've got apartments, we've got all these other things, and people have taken to liking walking on the trail. So after we built the parking lot in 2015, after reaching agreement with One Gas, the erosion was sufficient along the creek that we closed the trail in 2016. And then we added it to our CIP process, and I've got the dates up there. I think the key thing is if it was closed in June 2016, it was added to the CIP. We proceeded to hire an engineering firm. We slowed down a little bit in the first of the year, trying to reach an MOU agreement with One Gas. This ultimately worked out, I think, very favorably for the city, where we have, their engineers studied the issues, we've studied the issues, and we've ultimately, in the first MOU, agreed to share engineering costs on a 50-50 basis. And once that was approved by One Gas, approved by the City Commission, we moved ahead with selecting the engineer, getting the design contract approved, getting the plans done, and we're now here this evening to talk about phase 2 of the MOU. While the plans are done, we are still in the process of acquiring permits from the Corps of Engineers and Kansas Department of Health and Environment and some others. Well, we believe that those permits will be forthcoming, and if the MOU is approved this evening, we would move ahead as quickly as we can. So how did we get to where we are? It's been a bit of a rainy few years. I looked back through our records for rainfall at City Hall, and I pulled out the days, this is only the days, not storms, only the days, that we had over 2 inches of rainfall on any given day. And there are, I think that first week in July is a bad rain time. So I think in that time frame every year, but this year we've had like crazy rain. But there are 40 days since January 1st of 2014 that we have had an inch or more of rain per day. And if you look at the pattern this year, it was rain, 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 2 inches day after day after day, with a lot of 1 inches thrown in there. It's also worth noting that a larger force at work that impacts this is the bed of the Missouri River is what they call degrading. It's gradually eroding, becoming lower. We ran into some of that with the sewer siphon problem after it washed out in the big rains of 2005. That was kind of the first time we realized that it's not just theoretical, it actually could impact us.
You mean lower, you mean washing away?
Going down.
Down.
Yeah, lowering overall, which impacts water intakes to water plants and power plants.
Got it.
Impacts.
Oh, going down in water.
Yeah.
Okay.
The level of the bottom, if you will, of the river is decreasing over time, and it's a couple of big studies are trying to figure out what that really means. We're just a small part of that. So I took a couple pictures, courtesy of First City Photo. They have really interesting pictures over there. The first picture is basically looking northeast across 3 Mile Creek, and this roadway right here is basically Esplanade. So everything to the right is between Esplanade and the river, and absolutely everything in that picture is no longer there. It's been knocked down, burnt down, tore down, and a lot of it stayed there and is used to fill in the nooks and the crannies and low areas of the northeast part of the town. So all lead paint, chemicals, whatnot, that's all remains. A lot of that remains in northeast Leavenworth. Then the bottom picture is taken from the roof of the county courthouse. Shows kind of what happens to your creek banks in an uncontrolled environment. You can see pictures of several of these buildings exist today, but whatever it was that you didn't need, if it's in your way, it gets pitched over the edge of the creek bank and goes rolling down the hill. Wow. So it's a complicated environmental thing you've got to deal with. And just for fun, pulled up a map. These are what they call Sanborn fire maps. This when fire service was a contracted thing, and there's lots of stories about this, but they were really good maps. A couple of things you see here worth noting is the courthouse. If you know where the courthouse is, you go out the back door of the courthouse and you go straight down the hill to 3 Mile Creek. It's half a block away in 1905. They filled all that in with, I think, some of those buildings that were in that picture. And the alignment here is similar to what it is today. However, we have other maps that show that creek used to be up in further north. So you don't know what's out there. You've got to be prepared to deal with it. So that was part of the design is the contingency. What do you do with all this stuff that's buried down there? I can tell you the gas company is aware of this. This is in their agreement with the state of Kansas. Shows the footprint of the buildings. 2nd Street is here on the left side. This is Esplanade, and this is the Short Street, and this is the new apartments. This is their coal gasification site and the areas that the state was able to identify pollution that was of great concern. However, it was capped properly by one gas, and the parking lot further solidifies that it is not a concern at this point. Then using some tools that are pretty useful is the Google Images. I want, as we go through these, look how wide the creek is. And you can see this is the repair work done after the 2005 where it blew the sewer lines out here with 10 inches of rainfall. And depends on the storage you hear, in an hour to 3 hours, but it was a lot. And this is pre-trail. The creek is, I would say, as it was in 2008. It got the heck beat out of it with the big rain, but here it is. And then everything else, you'll see that the creek is wider. Look at the vegetation on the banks, you'll see it's less. 2010, the first good picture, you have the trail there. You can kind of see that the river's been up, so it's all silted in. But it looks like it's a pretty wide creek. This is 2012. And you start to see the creek start to look a little wider between 2nd Street and the pedestrian crossing. And if you go to 2014, this is looking to the west towards 2nd Street, and you can look at the vegetation that's on the banks. There's kind of flat banks, there's a lot of trees. It has this black rock here. You'll see this again at the end. It looks like a giant piece of slag that came out of the foundry. That's what it looked like in 2014 when we were trying to get ready to build that parking lot. Now we're in March of 2015, and remember we're getting all these rains constantly. I said, well, that looks pretty dramatic. It's not really green, but then it's March, it's not really green anyway. But that's a pretty wide looking creek in here as they're working on the stove factory loft apartments at that point. And then this is December of 2015. You can see the parking lot's built. Looking to the east, and there's no real slope with any vegetation in there anymore. It's taken a beating and moved on down to the Gulf of Mexico. 2016, parking lot shows up. I said that creek's looking wide, it's not silting in. And there we go. This is after a 2-inch rain, I think, May of 2016. It's ripped the trees, roots out of the bank, and leaned them all over. Did quite a bit of damage down in this corner. And then this year, as they're building the bridge, and this was, I guess, July of last year. Maybe I may have mistyped that. I think that may have been this year, but I think that's this year after it's mistyped the date. But look how wide that is compared to what there was. The erosion that you see down through here. Here's that rock again, right there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so our project is basically going to be kind of two key things. They're going to build a hard wall out of giant block structure, modular block like we've done. It'll be reinforced behind it with the plastic geogrid, and the top will be reinforced with some grass and shrubs and things. This is an example of a similar project. I think we'll have less grass and more blocks than this particular house had, but this is 280 foot of bank protection. We're going to tuck point the both columns here for the pedestrian bridge and repair the drainage for this whole parking lot area and repair all of this that has been damaged over the last couple of years as part of this project. And that's, we think we've negotiated a fair agreement with One Gas for 65% their share, 35% our share.
Okay.
And I know they would have resisted if we had said this was all their fault, their problem. And we said, well, let's talk about what we're trying to accomplish, and that's how we ended up with where we are. And the final couple of pictures, this is another picture from this year showing the banks with those trees that were tipped over in the previous year. And then this is 2014 in the upper left, and this is 2017. There's that rock in both pictures.
Mike, with what you're going to do, will that narrow the stream or will it remain the same?
It's going to be back approximately to where it was in 2014.
Okay.
There's some, that part of the permitting process is that they surveyed the bank prior to the construction of the parking lot. And the permit says, or the application for the permit says, we want to restore this bank to where it was, which is a simpler permit than building a new wall in a new alignment. And there's some debate as to what was really there before. And I think we provided the pictures and stuff to our engineers to make the case with the permitting agencies. But it'll be similar to what was there in 2014. I've expressed concerns about, I don't want to fix problem on the north side and then have a problem on the south side. And we made some adjustments to the plans that should, I think we ended up with a wider channel section as part of that.
Mike, is that just going to be dirt hauled in and compacted? Is it going to have riprap on it? Or?
There's going to be a wall built of these interlocking concrete blocks.
I mean inside the stream where you're going to rebuild the bank.
In the stream, there'll be like 2 rock dams across the stream, deep enough that they won't get eroded under and wide enough they won't get eroded around. Is what they call grade control structures.
Right.
To keep that, particularly with the Missouri River degrading, you want to preserve your bottom. You don't want it to keep getting lower and lower and lower.
Right.
So there'll be two grade control structures or little dams of big rocks across the creek to keep it flowing the way it's supposed to.
Okay.
There is a contaminated soil component to the plan. We don't believe we'll see very much of it, but there is a contingency in there to deal with that. The contract, the basic contract calls for the contractor to move it across the creek to the staging area we used before, and then the city will have a separate contract with somebody to deal with it, like we did when we built the parking lot. And that's why the bank is really unstable, because it's not really dirt. It's an industrial past of Leavenworth, open out, looking for an opportunity to fall in.
The sins of the past there.
It made perfectly good sense at the time to do that. So that's how we get to where we are, which is a request by the commission to approve the second half of the MOU, which is caps the project. Our engineer's estimate is in the something under $400,000 range. One Gas said that they were comfortable and as a contingency entering into an agreement for their share not to exceed 65% of $450,000 unless we talked about it further should we need to. And we thought that was well within our expectations as well.
Okay.
Mr. McDonald, when do you expect this repair to begin and when could it be completed?
Our goal is to have this advertised by the end of next week, assuming, typically it takes about 30 days before bids would be opened and brought back to the commission. If the permitting is completed, I would say you'd see the contractor start 30 days after that. So possibly 60 days. And this is winter work that everyone we've talked to said, water's down, might be cold, might be frozen, but that's why we got big yellow tools.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to do the work through the cold winter months then.
It's what, 90 days or 120 days? It's not.
It'll be 120 days, but we don't expect it to take that long.
Okay.
I want to thank you for the work that you've done on this and explaining the problem and the various owners, the history of the project, et cetera. And also congratulate the city manager and everyone else involved and I guess not congratulate Kansas Gas, but thank Kansas Gas for stepping up and taking ownership of part of this problem so that we can get it corrected. It's an important part of our city.
Okay. Any other questions or?
No, it's just amazing what a dramatic difference there is in just 3 years, you know, versus you covered a lot of history there, but just in those 3 years, what a difference.
It's very dramatic.
And, you know, you visually, you know it's a problem as, you know, slowly, but, you know, like the two pictures there really dramatize it.
Yeah. And a huge difference from 2008. Okay, do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept MOU Phase 2 with Kansas Gas on 3 Mile Creek Bank Stabilization Project as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting. Commissioner Rainey?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Okay, thank you. First consideration ordinances. First consideration ordinance to amend Chapter 82 Personnel.
Madam Mayor and Commission, this is a continuation of the seemingly endless bureaucratic process of getting into our more streamlined hiring process. This essentially eliminates Chapter 82, if we talked about, and inserts the language that all of this information is now solely contained in the city personnel policy manual rather than in the ordinance and the policy manual.
Okay. Any questions on this? If not, do we have a consensus?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, move forward. Okay, first consideration ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Section 2-57.
Madam Mayor and Commission, once again, this found another reference to Chapter 82. This one was in Chapter 2. So it's just a delete of one sentence from Chapter 2 that references Chapter 82.
Okay. Do we have a consensus to amend this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, other items, consent agenda.
Madam Mayor and Commission, for your approval, I'd like to move claims for September 23rd, 2017 through October 6th, 2017 in the amount of $1,564,404. The net amount for pay number 20 will be effective September 29th, 2017 in the amount of $339,170.82, and there is no police and fire pension at this time.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting. Commissioner Weekly.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Any other items for the commission? Any other items, sir?
Just one. I just wanted to let the public know, let the City Commission know, October 21st is the Haunted Depot. That is a collaboration between our Parks and Rec Department and the Leavenworth High School Repertory Theater class. From 5 to 6:30, the gym will be open. $2 gets you everything inside the gym, including bounce houses, trunk or treating, various kids games and activities. The young children can go through the haunted tour, which is in the track area from 5 to 6:30. The actors take a break, make some modifications, and make it scarier, starting from 7 to 10 p.m. So the students from Leavenworth High do an outstanding job. They really enjoy it. They get half of the gate for that to go to their class. And it's been a really good program. I think last year we had right at about 1,000 people that went through it.
Wonderful.
So
Wow.
that'll be Saturday the 21st.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else?
One question, Madam Mayor. I see the young lady back there with the tiara on. I'm just curious. Please come forward and tell us about yourself.
It's not too often we get graced by royalty here, yeah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Gustin. I'm your Miss First City. I just came with the domestic violence bill because that's my platform, but you're very lucky. You have 3 title holders that are vying for the position of Miss Kansas this summer. And if I do say so myself, there's some pretty amazing women, and we're looking forward to the year we have ahead. you're stuck with us for a full year because we just got these crowns like a month ago.
Not taking it off, are they?
Nope, I got a bobby pendant and everything, but if you want to try it on, I will switch you if you let me take your name tag. But we're very excited to help the community, and we're excited to help with any projects we can. So if you think of anything, contact the Miss Leavenworth Scholarship Pageant on Facebook, and we'll be there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
It's good to see you. All right. Anything else? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please begin voting. Commissioner Rainey.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried.